Hi, welcome to Storytime with Mark. Um, Today I need to do something that's a little bit more in depth. In fact, you're not going to see me. I'm going to be sharing a screen and running you through numbers that are boring, but I need people to be able to understand for a single individual who has some assets that needs facility level care. What can we do? What can't we do? How does it really work? To be able to explain how it really works is going to take a little bit of time, so I hope you'll bear with me. So first, let me share my screen with you. Um, okay, so here on the screen, you see this is a case study that I took from Kraus Financial Services and adapted it for some newer numbers. This was back in 24, actually, that I did this. And here it shows that the person has 150,000 in assets. She's got $1,800 in income, and her cost of care is $8,300. So the cost of care in Kansas is usually above that. Skilled nursing facility on average in 2026 is $8614.20 for 30 days. If you have a memory care unit, that means you need memory care unit, then you're probably looking between $9,000 and $12,000 a month. But we'll just use these numbers for now and show you what they show. So they say she's got these assets. She gets to keep 2,000. They let you keep $2,000 and still qualify for Medicaid. Her cost of care is this much. That's how much her income is. So she has a shortfall each month of $6,500. And then they go through some numbers that I'm going to show you some more stuff later. And they show that she's able to preserve about $70,000 out of that. Okay. So I'm going to show you a little bit differently how it works. Um, because what they missed is she has 150,000 now, but when we put in the Medicaid application, depending on whether she's going to a skilled nursing facility or an assisted living facility, there's going to be some difference. But we're going to have to pay some upfront to get her qualified for Medicaid. And that amount is going to be the amount to cover the months it's going to take to process that application. So, for instance, if we're going to a skilled nursing facility, then that those claims right now are taking between 2 months and 4 months. The lady I hired to do the Medicaid applications actually told me that she had one that got through in 6 weeks, but um, that's amazing, but that never happens. So realistically, you should be looking at 2 to 4 months. Um, so if we go for the 4 months, then we're going to have to pay $33,000 up front so that that's gone out of the account and it's going to cover the cost of care during the time that the Medicaid application is being processed. And some people may say, hey, but with a skilled nursing facility, it's retroactive up to 3 months. Well, yeah, but that's retroactive to when you otherwise qualify. When we're doing this, this type of plan to preserve assets, you don't otherwise qualify until we've completed the plan. So there's not going to be anything retroactive here. Um, okay, so next, what do we do? So that means we've got 116.8 left. Okay. So then what happens with Kansas is you put in the Medicaid application and they say, congratulations, you qualify for Medicaid, except for now to preserve assets, we give them away. Now, I don't want you giving them to your kids whose lives may be messy and the assets you gave them may be in jeopardy. I want you to give them away to an asset protection trust. Okay. So we give those assets away to an asset protection trust, and for every $8,614.20 that we gave away, we earn 30 days of penalty where Medicaid is not paying. So they say when you put in the application, they take some time to process it, and then they say, congratulations, you qualify for Medicaid, except for that gift that you made, whatever the amount was. And so here's your penalty. When that penalty is over, come back and reapply. And that application goes a little bit faster, but you should still expect another 2 months for that application to process. So then we're looking at about another, excuse me, $16,600. Okay, so if we started out with 150 here, then we have to consider the amounts that we're going to pay up front, and then during the second processing time, we have to consider those as well. So we really only have $100,000 that we're working with. So already we've lost 1/3 of the assets just in processing time. Okay. If you're if you've got dementia and you're going to an assisted living facility with a memory care unit, um, then it takes 4 to 6 months to process. So you've even lost more. And that's the number you're down to. Um, oh, I'm using the wrong thing here. Let me pull in the correct Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so you're down to this amount, uh, either on skilled nursing or home and community-based services with an assisted living facility. So we've lost over 1/3 of it already. All right. Then we put this amount into the asset protection trust. All right. We've given that away. And what that does is that gives us 5.77 months worth of penalty. And to cover those, just say 6 months worth of penalty. So that's one of the things you have to understand is what I'm thinking right now is that we like for this to be down to the penny black and white. It is not. It is a little fluid, and we have to be willing to understand that and work around it. So this 40, $2,213.13, it's not going to be exactly that, but that's just how the numbers work on the Excel spreadsheet. It's going to be in that area. Okay, so this amount. So what we used to do is we used to keep this amount, and then we would pay that um, to the facility during the penalty period. And then in 2005, I think it was, the Deficit Reduction Act, they said, no, sneaky people, you can't do that anymore. Now we're not going to start your penalty until this part that you didn't give away, that you kept, until it's gone too. So a clever attorney um, said, I know what we'll do. We'll use what they put into the law that makes an annuity, which is usually considered a countable resource. But if you put 5 provisions into that annuity contract, now it becomes what we in the industry call a Medicaid-compliant annuity. And Medicaid will look at it not as an asset or resource, they look at it as an income stream. So now what we do is we take this amount and we purchase that annuity contract for, let's say, $42,000. And then over the next 6 months, the uh, the annuity company will pay us that $42,000 back. Okay. And that income stream each month is what we use to cover the shortfall that we have um, between our cost of care, which is this $8,300, and our income, which is this. Okay. So we have a $6,500 shortfall each month. We purchase an annuity to cover that amount. Now, I want you to understand here, that's the amount that we're able to save. Okay. Instead of the 70,000 or so that the case study from Kraus Financial Services told us we could save, because we have to take into consideration those things. Now, and this includes paying me $9,000. And that's if it's a simple case. I won't touch one of these for less than 9,000. I have three levels. I have either 9,000, 12,000, or 15,000. 15,000 is for the really complex cases or complex assets. 12,000 is when it starts getting a bit complex. I'd say probably the majority of my cases where the clients actually hire me fall in that range. Now, what else could you do instead of paying me? If we're only looking at $50,000 here, maybe you don't pay the broker fee and you don't pay me, and now you have $60,000 or $65,000 and you buy a truck, okay? Or you buy a truck plus buy an irrevocable funeral contract and maybe do a little bit of repairs on a home that is exempt. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. That's too deep into the weeds. But there may be some other things that you do that for your family fit better than hiring me for this amount of money. Okay. But let's look at what happens when we take our assets of 150,000 and just forget all this stuff. Let's say that those assets are 700,000. Okay. Let's see how that changes things. Whoops. Okay, bring that back in a little bit. Okay, so now out of the 700,000, um, here's my actual analysis sheets. We're able to protect 368,000 about, and that gives us a 42-month penalty. Um, or if we're doing home and community-based services, then we're able to protect just a little bit less, 360,000, which gives us a 42-month penalty approximately. So if you have these, this type of number here, the $700,000 in assets, um, then we can still protect significant amounts. So here we're looking at, let's find out what that percentage is. Equals, this is the amount that we end up losing on the Medicaid compliant annuity. Um, and whoops, hold on. Let's, so this is our total. Um, and this is the amount that we're able to preserve. So we'll go equals this amount divided by this amount. So we're saving about 57% there. Um, and over here, a little bit less, but over half of the assets were able to be preserved. So that, I mean, that's significant. Okay, now understand this is for an individual. When there's a couple, where one spouse is still well, then we can do significantly more. We can usually preserve almost all of the assets. But this is this story time lecture, maybe I should call it, is just for what we can do as far as a single individual needing care and trying to preserve their assets. Thank you for bearing with me. This has been Storytime with Mark. If you get planning done, please do it with someone who is competent.